has come through again, and man, it always just hits at the exact right time. So, Nikki, where are you in the world this morning?
I'm out in the deep woods. It's pretty, I'm very consciously centered and have been out here for a few days and then ready to get back to the big city.
I love so my husband and I got a chance to come out and hang out with Nikki and her husband this weekend. We had such a fun time. It was just beautiful on the water and really beautiful nature. And I
Hmm.
love how good your connection is. Like I'm so
Yeah.
impressed because I know how out there you guys are.
Yes, it is very far out there. And it's funny, like when you're out on the lake, there's so many people in boats and stuff, and like it doesn't work out there like it does here. And then you're up here in the woods and no one's here. And it's surprising that your 5G works. And I'm grateful.
Yeah, super impressed by that. But the topic for today, I'm excited for us to just talk about our experiences and even for, listeners to really reflect on what are the various areas where they feel like they're great at it, they're okay at it, they suck at it, but we're talking about this dance of giving and receiving. And I think there's so many areas like it could be gifts, it could be compliments, it could be feedback. Like there's so many areas of this, and I think somebody who's really taught me, and I think you too, Nick, is Des. Like her story about standing in line at the post office has always stuck with me about learning how to be just as good of a receiver as you are a giver.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting to me why we as humans naturally deflect from like compliments and, oh, those earrings are so pretty. Oh, I got them on sale. They were $5. Like, I don't know. I do that and I've been working on it for a long time to just receive it, just own it. And so I'm ready for this conversation because I it's been a journey.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's interesting because I like what are the things that feel difficult? I think that's interesting to look at. And so the death story, because I kind of planted the seed, I won't leave you guys hanging on that, but she has the story. She shared it on several of our high vibe tribe retreats because there's a lot of women who show up who they are givers. They give to everyone around them. They give their time, their energy, their attention, and they're not necessarily taking the time to receive that back. And so she shares this example. She was standing in line at the post office, arms completely full of boxes. So imagine like you've got 12 packages you're trying to mail out, and there's a woman standing in front of her, and the lady's like, come on honey, you can go ahead of me. And Des, like playing the hero, is like, no, it's okay, you know what, one person, this isn't so bad, it's fine. And the lady's like, no, come on up here, you get ahead of me. And Des is resisting, no, it's okay. And the woman says, don't you snatch my good deed from me, you get it
Mm,
out of me right now. And that, like, I think for what Des shares is in that moment, it helped her see that by not being a good receiver, that we actually become a taker. And I
mhm.
think that's why we reject receiving. Like, think of what is it for you? What are the things that are difficult for you to receive? And then what is like that fear attached to it of how it's going to be perceived?
Hmm. Gosh, the list is long. Compliments. I always tend to come back with, like I was saying about the earrings or whatever, rather than just, oh, thank you. Like, thank you for that compliment. There's something, and I always practice, don't put that, deflection or dampen it. What is
Mhm.
that, Or the other one is, going into something like a new organization. I'm joining as a member or something, and it is all about what I can give, and almost because my overachiever will come out. I have so much to give. It's not, there's nothing you can do for me. I have to pay it forward before I'm able to receive something. And it's
Mhm.
interesting when you're telling the death story. So I'm part of a nonprofit called Purposeful Living, and I've been part of that. It was the ninth annual fundraiser breakfast last week, and I got to MC that, which I really took seriously because I it's such an important organization to me, and one of my very best friends is the founder, and I was asked to be part of the board 10 years ago, so a year before it started. And I remember when Nadine called me and asked me, and it's one of those things when she calls to ask, and okay, yes, I'll do anything that she asked me basically. But it was all about what I'm going to be able to do and give, and do I have what capacity do I have? And the story that I told as the MC as we opened up was how quickly, like literally 1 year in, so that probably that first year, I went through a very fast divorce, and within that organization, I was given a place to live. Like I lived in a beautiful part of actually Nadine, the founder's home during the time when all of this was starting. And all of these people from Purposeful Living that were these women that are givers, just the resources, the cards, the little things that would stop by, and show up in my space because, coming into it, I was like, oh, I'm going to be on the board and what I can do and give and da da da. And how quickly did I learn that that organization was really there to give to me? And
Mm.
then my mom, a few years later, went through a pretty heavy mental illness that was kind of out of the blue. And I mean, an army of women that were meeting my mom for coffee, having calls with her. I mean, she couldn't even work. She was in such a deep place. And I come from this, what I'm going to do to give, and not even thinking about, oh, I don't need anything. I don't need any help. But
Mhm.
this journey of the past 10 years of what that's done. So naturally I deflect from compliments, and naturally I show up to help, not even thinking like, nobody, I don't need anything. So
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I think it's really easy for us to, I don't know if like receiving, I think it's interesting to be like, what's the emotion that's hit there? Because sometimes it's guilt, like I don't want to take advantage of them, or I don't want to inconvenience them, or I don't want them to feel like they have to. Because this still happens that I will ask for help or assistance and then immediately do the like takeaway. But you know what? If it's busy, don't feel obligated. Like
Yes.
there's that happens. And just a small example comes to mind for me. One of the times we were doing a site visit for our retreat, so I was traveling with Sarah Reuter, who is our like travel coordinator, and then Des, who is co-founder of High Vibe Tribe Retreats, and we were doing a site visit at San Miguel, where we were last year at the Live Aqua Hotel, and Sarah had sent a message and said, "Hey, just go ahead and stick your bags outside of your room, and the bell folks will come through and they'll pick that up, and all of that." And me, I'm just like, it's fine. I don't need to wait for them. Like they don't need to come all this way and pick this up. I'm just going to take it down. And I did. I was the only one who did that. And they both kind of called me out on it. They're like, Amy, it's really okay. Like it's okay to allow someone else to carry your bags.
Mm.
And that's just kind of stayed with me of
Yeah.
like, it's okay to let go and allow someone to carry your bag. So like the receiving help part, I think is the most challenging for me. That's the one I'm certainly working on. And I think even back to the receiving gifts is, I feel super awkward. Like I almost feel like there's an obligation of like, okay, how do I respond? And now does that mean I now have like, do I have to give them a gift now? Or like, is there a thank you card? Like that receiving gifts is another really challenging one for me. But also I will say it is the lowest on my love languages. So
Same.
it's just not, I'm just not hardwired to be a good gift giver, or a good gift receiver.
Yeah, I'm totally in that camp. One thing that came up for me is we have a culture code at People Forward Network,
Mm.
and it's our behaviors that live beyond our values. So how we show up in action, and I'm really proud of those. And I think so many times many of these culture codes are me working against the things that are hard for me. So one of ours is ask for help. So we practice as a team asking for help. And Amy, when you were sharing some of that, something that comes up for me, like with the bags and allowing someone to do their job and to treat you as special and whatever is, or when we ask for something and then we take it back, it's let them be there. They're an adult. Like, let them, let's go to Mel Robbins for a minute. Let them, they get to discern if they say yes or no. If we ask someone, do you want to serve on this board? Do you want to volunteer at this thing? Let them be an adult. They're an adult, they can make that decision, let them. But the other part is allow them to give. This is such a gift for them to be able to do that, and so many times we want to help and people take those opportunities from us. So I have to remind myself all the time, but our team has a habit of doing celebrations of each other when we ask for help, or recognizing that, because it's not easy.
I think this receivership too, like, so I pulled a list of what are the examples of things that we might give and receive. And so we can dig into each of those, but we've got compliments, we've got gifts, feedback, like I, are we good at receiving feedback? Maybe that's one where we're like better at receiving than giving because out of fear that we're going to like hurt somebody, or maybe we're not great at both. There's that help and support we talked about, time and presence, like just being really fully attentive and phone down, email down, like not being distracted. Being able to receive somebody else's time then, right? To be seen and to be heard and to be valued, and like to allow that to come through without the bitch in the attic telling you a story otherwise. Opportunities, think of that as like from a BD perspective, or like just even a business owner. Like, are we open to receiving, introductions or taking the next step? Or, I think it's interesting. Also, there's love and care, boundaries are in there, some of the examples, but I think it's interesting to reflect on like where we might block the blessings we're praying for.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's likely things that we're like, oh, I just need a break. I just need some help. I just need there's things that like we know that we need, right? Like we're getting that guttural reflection. I just need to take a breath. I just need some time away. I need some time to relax. And yet we block the opportunities that come to us, whether it's an offer from someone and we don't even recognize it and we turn it down. Maybe it's an open invitation. It could be that we work for somebody and they're like saying, hey, you should go have some fun, take some time off, take the afternoon off. And yet we don't receive that, right? No, it's fine. I'm not going to do that. Or, the guilt kind of kicks in. But the
Mm-hmm.
blessings are literally right in front of us and we're just
Yeah.
refusing them.
Oh, well, a lot that comes up right there for me is around being worthy. Like,
Mm.
am I worthy? And that's really the root of when you said sometimes we're blocking the things we're praying for. It's that, am I worthy? Am I enough? Am I, and I maybe we go there for a minute because that's deep.
Mm-hmm. I think that is, yeah, it is really good. I think the, compliments, there's so many things where it's a desire that we have. I think all of us desire to be seen, but in different ways. We all desire to be known, but in different ways, right? And when it's given to us, it's like our deepest desires. We've talked about this on the ego, kind of the push pull of each one, that, each ego style. And when it's given to us, we often do kind of push it away, even though it's what we deeply desire to have.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm curious, like with that worthiness piece, what are the pieces as you've learned how to be a better receiver? Has worthiness ever been a piece for you? And how have you kind of made, like in that experience with, um, you were just mentioning with Nadine's group? Why did it immediately leave my mind?
Oh, purposeful living.
Yes, thank you. Purposeful living. Was there any like worthiness stuff you had to work through to be a good receiver in those moments?
Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. I mean, particularly in that group, it is a Christian foundation, so there's that component of it. And Nadine, her nickname is Mother Teresa, so I'll let you fill out the pieces there, but basically she's nearly perfect and has a direct phone line to God, it seems, and sometimes that can be a little intimidating, even though there is never someone that comes into purposeful living, and whatever they believe, they are welcome. It's just like we're here to show up with love and not judgment and all of that. But sometimes because of that context and being a leader in the organization, I have questioned myself, should I be taking this seat? Am I good enough to model the way for others? So whether it's this high standard, and that probably goes back to the overachiever thing as well, or just me not being in the seat of the leader, and even I could be in the seat of the leader at the same time and be receiving. There's someone brand new that walked into the organization, never met this person before, but they like, said the nicest thing and want me to be their mentor or something like that. And I'm a little overwhelmed, and but am I the best mentor for them and whatever? And just like, what is that inside me that questions? But yes, do I? Absolutely. And then I have to talk to myself about, hey, Nikki, they came to you and asked you to be their mentor. Obviously, they see something. Let just receive it and go with it if you're willing to do it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think again, like back to the self reflection, I think just to recognize if that reaction is created within us and then have a really good plan on how to override it. If it's like, no, I really have been, yeah, I've been wanting somebody to recognize my talents and here it is in front of me, but wow, my instant reaction is to deny that. Or I'm really in a place of I'm incredibly vulnerable, but receiving feels like it exposes that vulnerability. And so my natural reaction is to protect that. But how do I just lean in to the vulnerability? I think that's such a conscious way of looking into it. And then, there's also the giving part. I mean, I think it's helpful for us to look at, do we ever give with expectation? That doesn't mean that we become a good receiver, by the way, but do we ever give with expectation? Like, I'm going to do this in hopes of.
Mm.
And I think that can kind of put the honor of giving from an unconditional and a loving place. I think it shifts the energy of that for sure.
Hmm. There's a term that I have learned along the way around cheerful giving, where I question when I am saying yes to something, and it could be a donation, it could be my time. Anytime that I have this struggle of I should versus I I naturally, like, I want to do this, I'm cheerfully giving. It's just such a different giving. It's kind of my litmus test on, am I feeling pressured, or I should, or this is, I feel called. I feel happy about this,
Mhm.
Do you ever do you relate to that?
Oh yeah. I think for sure that, another decism that we've learned along the way is that if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And just to really know clearly what your hell yeses are, so that when you say them, like it is fully aligned with your intention, your integrity. Because that's the thing I think we're missing most is like, if we say yes out of obligation, we are misaligned with our own integrity, and the energy of that give is not nearly as high as, if we were fully aligned, if we were fully in a
Hmm.
hell yes. And
Yes.
I just try to keep the exchange of energy and everything, in the giving and the receiving. Like, it's cyclical. It's sort of this, like, I'm making a motion that you cannot see with my hands, but it's like this circulation. Like, how about money? Do you ever give money out of obligation? Maybe somebody asks to borrow it. You don't really want to lend it to them. Maybe it's a donation. Somebody asks for a
Yeah.
donation and you just feel like, if I say no. How often do you get roped into you're at a store and they're like, do you want to round up, or do you want to give $1? Or do you want to,
Yeah.
how often,
Totally.
how often do you get kind of caught in I feel like I have to say yes, otherwise I look like I'm an asshole?
That's exactly right. And it's that feeling inside where you're like annoyed that they're asking. And if you then do round up, but you're annoyed, that's not cheerful giving. And then, I mean, for me, I have a ripple effect of thinking about it for the rest of the day. I don't like that. And that's an energy thing. And again, going back to that litmus test of how do I feel when I'm in the state of giving? And someone asked
That's
me,
so good.
totally.
It's also like, think of all the places you go where they're like, do you want to tip this person? Like, I'm not joking. At my doggy daycare, when I buy the package,
Mhm.
poor Leap has been on the injured reserve list. He still has his cast on from his little broken toe, but there's an opportunity to tip them just for like buying the package of the I'm like, am I
Come
rude if
on.
I say no? Like,
Yeah.
so I like your, I think that's a good check-in of whether it's
Hmm.
tipping, whether it's like charitable giving, to check in with yourself before you answer, hit the yes or the no or say anything, and just say, is this coming from a place of joy or obligation? And if it's
Hmm.
obligation, you say no, thank you. And you know that that is a more aligned energy that you just put out into the world than if you gave with frustration.
Totally. Okay, I've got a vulnerable share coming up here. I'm like, this keeps coming up. I should
Huh?
probably share this.
Okay.
So, years ago, actually, because of our friend Des, I was like mid 20s and went through a transformational weekend like leadership program, self growth program. You get like locked in with people for multiple days. It's like 2 nights, and anyway, a very intense thing, and I absolutely hated her the first night of going. You're not supposed to call anyone. You're supposed to only be there. There's no calling. I remember sneaking out with my phone, and I was mad. I was so mad that I was at this thing. She's like, you are not supposed to be calling me, like you're breaking the rules. And it just made me even more mad. So anyway, I'm at this thing, and my greatest takeaway through the weekend, I'm so glad that I went by the time it was over, but my greatest takeaway was, whatever in that time is triggering you, causing you anger or tears or whatever, is the mirror of what is happening inside of you.
Mhm.
So, and that's what it's meant to do. That's what the weekend, there's so many different dynamics, and I can't even get into how deep this experience was. Anyway, going back to the mirror of what's happening inside of me, here's a struggle. So, let's go in this world of abundance. I want to be abundant. I want to celebrate others that have whatever, right? Like I want to celebrate their hard work, or that they love this thing. So let's just say I had a friend comes out on the boat, and we see this other boat on the lake. This boat is a $200,000, I don't know, $1 million, whatever it is. It's this boat, this massive boat on a small lake, and this person says, I mean, I can't even imagine ever spending money like that on that boat. Like, you're like talking down about what someone else has, right? Or let's say someone buys a bag, like a purse, and someone else says, I would never be that person that spends that money on that purse or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I can't even tell you how much I get triggered and feel like I need to have a counseling or coaching session with that person about this, like to just challenge. That could be their dream, like their whole life. They were 3 years old and they wanted that boat, or
Mhm.
they have worked so hard for that purse. Like it was this big goal, and they got this purse, and whatever it is, and to like let them and to celebrate them. One other example that I have is I have become a huge fan of Paris Hilton over the weekend. Actually, I was sitting out at the fire and I was watching Paris, this story about her giving to this girl that lost her car. She flew out and got her this new car. First of all, she could have just delivered the car and sent a card. No, she got the car for one of her fans, and she went there, took her time to be with her, and she's just a loving, caring person. Like I'm just so impressed by her. I started crying. I'm like telling David about it and whatever. And just, Paris just bought this $60 million house of Mark Wahlberg's or whatever. And some would look at that and say, oh, who needs that 60,000, or sorry, 60 million, $60 million house? And just to step back, obviously I struggle with it too, must because it triggers me, going back to the transformational weekend. What is it in us that tends to then judge and not just allow that receiving of whatever that is that they're experiencing, to just let them, and to celebrate that? You have no idea the backstory. Just like when you meet somebody, you have no idea what they went through in the morning, and to just try to put on that curiosity or loving angle. Does that resonate at all for you, Amy?
I think it is helpful for us to be like, I don't they could have given 10 times more than they just got. I think it is a reflection, as you're saying, is if we're uncomfortable in witnessing the receiving of other people receiving, if that strikes jealousy, judgment, frustration, hate, etc., I do think that is, to your point, a good signal to reflect back into, where is the lesson here for me?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the lesson here? Like, where is this something I need to work on? I'm making them responsible for it. Um, and yeah, I do think that it's really helpful to reflect, just like you said, like whatever triggers you is meant to be seen more deeply, I think, by us.
Totally. And so maybe like a challenge in this is, of all the things that we talked about, I definitely have multiple struggles and things that I work through to be better in my receiving. What is your thing that triggers you most? Like it could be in the feedback realm. It could be in love and care because you're like, oh, I don't need all that support. What is that thing for you? That's your mirror. That's
Mhm.
yours.
I think a good exercise to consider is kind of doing like a two column, giving and receiving, and consider like what are the things I'm really good at giving to others. And maybe it's four columns. It's like good receiving, not great receiving, good giving, not good giving, just for us to reflect on that. What are the things I'm really good at giving to others? What are the things I'm really good at receiving from others? What are the things I have a tough time receiving from others? What are the things I have a tough time giving? And one of the things I've really had to work on is writing checks for things like taxes. How often, when we have to give that tax money over, are we like, this is ridiculous? I just had to write a check for $20,000, but to see all things as cyclical, like again, giving and receiving, that's money is a reflection of that. What does that, it's a recycling. It will come back, maybe not directly, but in other ways. That's something I've really had to work on. Is there,
Oh my. Yes. Well,
yeah,
what comes up for me there? Des needs to listen to this recording because I see she's not in the audience. We need to share this with her
uh-huh,
because I remember I was in my mid 20s. I remember her when she would write checks for bills back then, still writing checks or whatever. So act as if you're logging on and paying your bill. She would pray a like blessing of gratitude for paying the electricity bill. For
mm,
pay, it's part of actually, I think, in the secret, where anything that we are paying out, even if it's something that we're like, oh, taxes or whatever, you're praying the gratitude prayer of being able to do it because it will only continue to flow when we don't resist that.
mm.
And man, yeah, she was my greatest teacher in that. I still think of that so many times when I go to pay bills and going back to I'm cheerfully paying my electricity. I'm
Yeah.
cheerfully paying for my water.
Yes, the gas, the things that we complain like, oh, it's gotten so expensive. Groceries have gotten so expensive. To like hand your debit card over or, scan your card and just feel the abundance of joy and the blessings of like I have this. And because yeah, all things are energy. I mean, it is this, recycling of things. And to walk away from here, I'm going to reflect on this of like, what is one area I want to be a better giver and receiver, both like a hell yes giver, a joyous giver to your point, Nikki, and a really gracious receiver. I think for me, it's help for sure. And I think the gracious giver is going to be on all of those prompts that pop up and have an ask, like to really check in with myself of, am I saying yes out of joy, or can I say no and feel okay with, that I'm aligned with my integrity? Anything in particular pop up for you want to reflect on?
Yeah, I think my two are the cheerful giver litmus test. I don't want to have the ripple effect of saying yes out of guilt or anything other than this is what I feel called to do. And then on the receiving, not deflecting. I don't need to tell you that I got my earrings on discount. I don't need to do that. They're just earrings.
There was a comedian I saw recently who said, my wife is obsessed with TJ Maxx, and she's like, it's because I get these designer things that look like they cost a lot, but I don't spend a lot on them. And like nobody knows. And he's like, everyone knows because the minute they compliment you, you say, oh, thanks. I got it for $8 at TJ Maxx. Like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
true. I think some of that's being a girl's girl. Like we just want to help each other out too, right? To be like,
Yeah.
you too can have these earrings. But
Uh-huh.
but I think I think just like we say no is a complete sentence, so is thank you. I think
Mm.
that's something for us to be like, thank you so much. And we don't
Hmm.
have to return a compliment immediately. Like it's really okay to just fully be in receivership.
Hmm.
That's a good reminder. So awesome. Well, safe travels back to the big city, and
Okay.
another
Thank
really
you.
great conscious conversation. So I hope everybody has a great day and does something with this incredible content they just listened to.
Yes. Have the best day ever.
Bye.
Bye.